It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here. Welcome to Mind Your Business.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so thrilled to have you here. This is Nick Thomson. He is the CEO, founder of Scooter Mart.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, what made you decide to do this, and what challenges you face and how you've overcome them. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Nick. I'm sure a lot of people watching might have seen me yelling at them on their computer screen or a TV screen. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Yeah, I was born and raised in Bermuda, went to War Academy. I'm 32 years old, so I was a swimmer in my early part of life.
Okay.
Competitive swimmer, yeah. Ben Smith, he's a politician now.
Yeah.
He was my coach.
Okay.
And kind of like a real father figure, role model for me growing up. But after swimming and going to War Academy, I went to a boarding school for a couple years in Pennsylvania to swim. And then I went to Florida State University.
Okay.
And I did college there on a swimming scholarship. So swimming was a big part of my early life. And then I graduated with finance and accounting degrees.
Okay.
And came back to Bermuda, worked at KPMG for a little over a year. And then decided to open a secondhand scooter shop.
So did you always know you were going to be working for yourself at some point?
No. I mean, so my dad has always been an entrepreneur.
Correct.
And in the kind of truest sense of the word entrepreneur. Like he's like completely just boots on the ground, running small businesses. And he's like really, really good as a small business operator. He's really, really good with people and detail oriented and stuff. Some of the things that I'm not nearly as good at this.
Okay.
For sure.
But you had someone to model after, I guess?
Yeah, exactly.
So
our whole lives definitely at least subconsciously, my brother and I, my brother's Kenny.
Yes. Seen him on TV too.
Yeah. We always kind of that was kind of always an option. I feel like for a lot of people who aren't in the entrepreneurial world, they're more in the corporate world. You know, when your parents are in the corporate world, it's hard to even imagine going off the beaten path.
That is true. It's very true.
You know, starting a random business that might completely fail. What are you talking about?
There's no stability there. What are you doing?
That's just literally not an option in your brain.
Right.
Your whole psyche is absolutely no chance.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The risk is too high.
Yeah, it's just almost unfathomable or unimaginable for most people who have parents who are in the corporate world. So we were lucky to be able to have him as an entrepreneurial role model, and then my mom also started Nona's Kitchen.
Okay.
So she did that.
Cornbread though.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Nona's Kitchen.
Yeah. She started Nona's Kitchen in I think 2013, and she sold it in 2016.
Okay.
So she was in and out in 3 years. She did really well to be able to exit and paid off all her loans in the first kind of 6 months. So it did really well, but she kind of put so much passion and love into that that it almost killed her. I think it was really stressful.
Really. And then you were like, hey, I think I want to start a business too.
Yeah. So I think the answer is deep down, maybe, yeah, I always kind of felt like I would want to do something myself. But when I was in college, I wanted to go into investment banking to kind of do the JP Morgan, New York City type thing.
Yeah. It looks luxurious and glamorous.
Yeah.
So how did you decide on used bikes? What made you do that? Because was that even a thing? People sell their bikes on Emu and stuff, but to have a company that focuses on that.
Yeah. So I was working at KPMG and right after college, and they have those accounting firms have such big turnover.
Yes.
They bring in 100 people every year. So there was all these people who were now my best friends because I was working with them all day. We were
Right.
partying all night. We were like 22, you know?
Yeah.
So, and they were all walking around Bermuda. And I'm like, yo, we don't walk in Bermuda. Like, you know what I mean? Even walking from here to like, I don't know, back of town.
Yeah.
That's like, no.
Right.
Like, I don't care if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, that Bermudians ride.
Yeah.
Or we drive a car. Or,
Right.
But most, like, you get a bike.
You just get on a bike and go.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's done. So, and I found out that the reason that they weren't is because the actual process of doing it, like so many things in Bermuda, it's just quite difficult.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you can get lucky and buy a secondhand bike on Emu and it could be relatively smooth. But like 90% of the time, you're going to be dealing with a lot of like information hurdles. Like, I don't know how to transfer test it.
Right.
I don't know how to get the insurance.
Right.
The insurance says they want the chassis number and the engine number and the bill of sale. And, you know, like, what is all that? Like, and then eventually when there's too many kind of things that you don't know about, you're just like,
Never mind.
you know what?
Yeah.
Never mind. You know, so some people end up renting forever, which is also a huge waste of money, although we appreciate everyone for renting. But, but you know, it's like, it's the same as kind of renting a house versus buying a house.
Yeah.
You know, you want to buy the asset and own it, so then when you leave the island, maybe in 2 or 3 years,
resell it and get some of your money back.
Yeah, get your money back. You're expensing depreciation as opposed to the entire amount. So I had, and this is all, you know, while 50 of my friends are walking around Bermuda, I had just sold my car when I graduated from FSU in Florida to CarMax, which you might notice our logo looks a little like CarMax.
It is. Now that you say it, I know what CarMax is.
And they swindled me so good at CarMax. Yeah. And like in a good way though, like it was a valuable experience to me, but like I clearly saw that they were profitable. Like I saw the same car being sold on eBay for like $3,000 more.
Yeah.
CarMax brought me in. They made it super easy, super convenient. Yeah. Like they did absolutely everything, but they gave me $3,000 less. And I was like, wow, I just got like taken for this ride and I loved it. and they made tons of money on me.
That is so funny.
You know, but then like it really kind of cemented this idea that like people appreciate convenience.
They do,
you know?
And we'll
like,
pay for it.
We will pay to just not allow me to not have to think and use my brain and figure out and problem solve. I'm problem solving enough in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Allow it to be super easy and pleasant and smiley and customer service friendly and done immediately. And I will pay.
Yes.
You know, so there's a clear profit model for making people's lives easy. And that's, you know, where it started from. So like while I was still working at KPMG, I basically would buy like secondhand scooters on Emu and bring them to like my dad's house on his porch. And like I didn't even know how to fix up bikes, to be honest.
Really?
But I would kind of clean them and I would like YouTube how to, you know, service or clean them up as well as I can. And then I would just take really good pictures of them and resell them with a little bit of like a warranty. So take a little bit of risk and be like, look, you know, if anything's wrong,
you can bring it back.
The difference between me and the other Emu sellers, you can bring them back and, you know, I'll take care of you. So that kind of worked, and I would do like a couple of those per weekend. But what I found was doing a couple of those per weekend, which turned into 3 or 4, I was making more money than my job was paying me.
Well, there you go, people.
On like Saturdays to Sundays.
Right.
And I'm like, well. So then I kind of ramped it up and and the space in Lover's Lane was coming available, which used to be a dry cleaners, which my dad owned that dry cleaner.
Yes.
So, and that was closing, and he was like, hey, a spot's open. Do you know anyone who wants to like go into this spot? We have to find new tenants.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I could try out my little thing there.
Let's see.
And it was really like not ideal. I was like, we really probably need a lot more room than that tiny little place. But like we made it work, and we just kind of keep growing and keep reinvesting, and it's just a constant idea of any money we make, we're going to put back into newer products, more offerings, you know.
So talk to me about that, because it started with the used bikes.
Yeah.
And now you do some other stuff. So how did you decide like how you were going to branch out and what products and services you were going to add to what you offer? Because you fix up the bikes too now, right? Or service them.
Yeah, we do service, repairs, spare parts, accessories, everything. So it's just, the cool thing about this was it was really kind of organic. It was like there was no big investors throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at us. There was no like big loans. There was no like my family supported in advice, and they were very supportive morally, but they like, here's all this money, go buy a bunch of new trucks and all this stuff. Like we just started with like literally nothing. We didn't even have a sticker on our van. We had this old van that was literally like 30 years old. So we started with literally nothing and very organically grew it. I think that's because most people thought it wouldn't work.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, you had to know it was going to work because you were selling 3 and 4 bikes, and like you said.
Yeah, like to me, like being an accountant, I was like, this business model really, really works because it's literally just my labor, and we're able to generate like, you know, a couple $1,000s a day in profit from, and the customer's happy, and the person we bought it from is happy.
It's happy, yeah.
So like, there's 3 wins here. Like they got to sell it quick, we got to profit off it. The customer got to have a working bike that's easy, and we took out the problems. So there was a lot of wins, and people were financially happy, and the profit model worked. So I was like, this has to work. But I feel like a lot of people were like, Nick, you're leaving like CPA, like corporate, you know, high tower office
the
world
stability,
to
I
like
think.
fix up secondhand scooters. like I don't know. To a lot of people, that seems insane.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of lucky that at that age you have so much energy, and like
the risk tolerance is higher, right? Like you're like, oh, if it doesn't work, I can just always go back.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell
you're
people.
You're young, so like I was living in my parents' house. So, you know, I'll go broke and then I'll go back to where I was. I'll be in the exact same place. You know, I don't have any loans, so I can't go in debt. So yeah, it's kind of like you just go for it and see what happens. And I had so much energy that you just couldn't really stop me at that time.
So tell me about this. Like, what do you think? Because now you can find bikes or used bikes or whatever, like you said, on Emu. So what was the differentiating factor for Scooter Mart? Like, what makes people choose, besides your fabulous commercials, what makes people choose you?
So basically, we only did just used bikes for like a few weeks.
Okay.
We basically immediately found out, like, before launch, I had bought up like 30 or 35 used scooters. And then we realized that there's way more people looking to buy secondhand bikes than there are people who want to sell us their secondhand bikes.
Got you.
So that was the only kind of like, okay, if we have real overheads and we have like real rents and we have a lot of staff and like Belco and all the rest of it, we need to be able to have a certain amount of these sales per week. And if we do not have enough supply, like the ability to buy these secondhand bikes, then the model will fail eventually.
Yes.
So we identified nice and early that we need to contact some big suppliers, get in some new vehicles from source. So we started with Vespa, and then we got Honda and Yamaha, and now we have tons of different brands, Aprilia, Piaggio, and some electric scooters and all sorts of stuff. But so and now actually 95% of our business, over 95%, is brand new vehicles. The Honda, Yamaha, Piaggio, Vespa, warranty and all the rest of it. So
nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of evolved over time, but I think the differentiating factor has been that, honestly, truly, I think that like people can sense the vibe. That's very like Gen Z to say.
It's like the vibe. That's why.
But I just feel like in general, like people can sense whether it's our advertising or it's in person or it's our enthusiasm talking about certain things. I feel like people are like, they have a sense that we're having a pretty good time overall.
So I'm going to translate it into entrepreneurial terms and say customer service.
Yeah, customer service. Yeah.
I really genuinely think that. And like you started off when you told the story about how you got started, people pay for that and will pay extra for that.
Yeah.
And I do think that sometimes we can miss that in Bermuda because it's so small.
Yeah.
And in some instances, they're like forced monopolies. It's only one or two places where you can get X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, on occasion, I think there's a lapse in service because it's like, what are you going to do if you want it? You got to come here.
Yeah.
And I do think, from my own opinion, this is me looking at you and how you've grown over the years, is that you take care to provide that service, right? So whether it's having fun at what you do, hiring people who enjoy what they do, it does translate down into the end user's experience.
Yeah, and it's overall care. I feel like people can, even if it's subconsciously, you can tell when someone cares.
Yeah.
And in the vehicle, especially servicing and repairs and stuff, in Bermuda, on an island on like the other side of the earth, we're like literally the antipode of the earth from where these things are made.
Yeah.
Like to have all the spare parts and to have the technician who's qualified and certified to repair it and the diagnostics tools, we can get into like a rabbit hole of how difficult it is to service all these hundreds of different types of vehicles, all different parts. Every year they make a new iteration, so all the parts are different. So the end result is, if like, it's going to be hard no matter what, but is the person or the company you're working with to be your motorcycle provider, do they care?
Yeah.
You know, like, do they care enough to be like, I recognize this is a challenging, tough spot you've got yourself in with your scooter or whatever. We care. We're going to work as hard as you can possibly work to get this sorted out for you because we care about you as a customer.
Right.
Whereas it's so easy, especially if there were less competition, to be like, yeah, it sucks.
Sorry about that.
Sucks, but you know what? That is going to be really difficult for me to do, and I don't really feel like it. Like that is the option. That's the other option.
Though. It happens.
Yeah, and if there's not competition, that happens. When there's a lot of competition, you got us being like, yeah, we care. We're going to work hard for you. We're going to ba. You can't not do that now.
Why? Like, how do you I know that's how you are. Right? But as the leader of the organization, how do you impart that same sort of care into the people who work for you and represent Scooter Mart? Because that is a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's making sure that you're really, really selective with the people who are in your circle on your team. I think you just want to get a certain type of person who has that natural ability to care and to bring enthusiasm and a positive attitude. And be excited.
Because you can't teach that. You can teach someone how to find and fix stuff, but you can't teach that.
So that's got to be your filtering and hiring, and just be like, look, sorry, you're a great person. It's just we have enthusiastic people who care and are gonna, do whatever it takes to make to solve our customers' problems, even if that means taking on stress.
Right.
On behalf of our customers, like making their problems ours. So that's a filtering, hiring thing, I think. But the other thing is the tone at the top. It's like when I come in and I'm setting the standard of like, I'm running when I get people's keys to change their oil or whatever. Like, if you're then working for me and you're like dragging your feet, you're gonna stand out like a sore thumb. It's almost not even an option because I'm like running around.
Yeah.
So I think tone at the top is important as well. It's showing everyone on the team like we're not like I'm not above them, you're not below them. We're all working hard together. I'm in the mud, I'm in the dirt, cleaning bikes, doing what I got to do to take care of our customers, and they all see that. And I think as long as that continues, I think that's a good kind of vibe to have in the workplace because everyone kind of feels on a team, and if we win together. Yeah. We do cool things like profit sharing, so everyone's properly like financially incentivized. If the company does well, everyone, love that. All the mechanics get profit sharing. That's why you won Business of the Year.
But congratulations, though, by the way, because we were talking before we started the official interview about the fact that I think as CEOs or leaders of your companies, you're so focused on doing the work and making sure that things are running right excited and that you're doing what you need to do, that rarely do you get a chance to sit back and acknowledge where you have come and the progress that you have made. So that's why we started the BDC Business Awards, is because we see it. Like in the day-to-day, we're like, okay, this person's making headway. And so it's our way to acknowledge the hard work and the things that you have done to get your business from where you started to now. It's a full on, you got employees, you're changing people's lives.
Well,
so
thank you.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I love that you guys do that. And it was such a, like I was telling you, it was finally, I feel like, because when you're doing it, it's kind of like if you're in a swimming race, like you haven't finished yet. So like, I'm not going to celebrate before I finish.
Right.
You know
but
what I mean?
Nick, to be honest, I get the vibe that you will never be finished. Like the bar is here and then it goes higher and it's higher, which is great. I think that's great.
But no, it was a nice little excuse to be like, wow, like,
I did
good
that.
job. now back to work. Exactly.
I know. But no, really, I feel like sometimes we don't give ourselves our flowers, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so focused, like you said, on what's next. Like, I see you always thinking about how it could be better, what you can do for the customer to make their experience better, whether it's the commercials, whether it's promoting or adding new products to what you're currently offering. So you do have to, we will take time to celebrate your accomplishment so you can keep working. But outside of that, like, what's next for Scooter Mart? Like, I know you got plans.
Yeah, like, to me, it's about just constantly, I get bored, actually, if we're not doing something new or risky. Like, I'm a little too, like, I guess, like, ADD. Like, I'm just like, okay, this is too easy now. Like,
what else can we do?
What's gonna stress me out? So, but also I've learned with a little bit more age now, I'm 32, that, I want to stay in my lane a bit more.
Okay.
Like, because I think in this particular area, I could classify myself as a specialist, and that inherently is a reason why we can bring value to customers above other people, because we are specialists and experts in our sector.
Okay.
So to go out into something that I may not be a specialist or expert in would be really risky, because you're now trying to compete with people who might be specialists and experts, and you're not one. So I think being in our relative lane is important. So we just branched out into rental mopeds, which is super fun. Honestly, like, ever since, like, I think that's actually what I've always wanted to do. I think I was like 10 years old and I watched, like, you ever seen the Jason Bourne Identity movies? Yes. Like, the first one, that, like, the guy, Jason Bourne, and it ends at, like, a rental moped place in like, a Greek island, and he finds the girl and, like, they're renting a moped. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. I could definitely rent mopeds for the ride.
That is so funny.
I swear to God, I was like 10, and I was like, and
that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and now we're doing it.
Now you're doing it.
I absolutely love that. It kind of combines, because, like, it's hospitality. Yeah, truly,
it really is.
Where, like, we were trying to do, I'm a hospitality guy, but we were trying to do hospitality in, like, engine repairs. Yeah, which, it's nice, but like, it's not ideal. This is like true hospitality, like tourism. Like, you're getting people who literally were on a subway in New Jersey, like a day and a half before. They're now on this, like, oasis of the most beautiful turquoise pink sand island on God's earth, riding a moped, exploring the coves and the lagoons and the caves and the beaches. Like, that is epic.
You're right. It is.
That type of experience.
Those are core memories.
Like, and it's thrilling, and the wind's in your face, and it's exhilarating, and it's a novel experience. It's not even the same as renting a car. I mean, they have a nicer car probably in America, but they're riding a moped and exploring Bermuda. Like, I think, and it's the number one, or I think the two most popular things that people mention when they review Bermuda are beaches and rental mopeds. Yeah. And usually rental mopeds first. It's just so novel, right? And it's such a unique experience that we it's almost like standard, like, go to Bermuda, rent a moped. Yeah. That's like our bucket list thing. So I think that it's super cool to be a part of something. I didn't know it was so entrenched into like our culture and our identity until I started doing it.
Yeah.
And now it's really, really cool to be such a big part of Bermudian identity. This is kind of what we give the world as our product. Like, we give the world memories.
Yes, correct.
That is what they take home, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They take home an awesome, unique memory of visiting, sometimes for the first time ever, their first foreign country. And then they rode a moped for the first time ever. And they were exploring beautiful beaches. And like, that is our memory. And mopeds are like one of the core things that stand out in their memory when for the rest of their lives.
Because they have never done that before, right? This is sometimes the first time they've ever done it.
This is like the coolest place in the world to ride a moped.
Yes.
Because you can see the whole country. There's parking everywhere. It's super easy. It's like culturally acceptable. All the cars are looking out for mopeds because we're used to it. So yeah, I think it's really, really fun. I enjoy it. I love the tourists, and they're always just having a blast. Like, who can like hop on a scooter for the first time and like
go,
you know, and be angry.
It's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
your stress levels immediately go down.
You could get a full service bill for changing your gear oil, and you could be angry after that.
Yeah.
Repairs and stuff. But you can't hop on a rental moped and be angry. Like, you're pumped. So
right.
Everyone's happy, like super good vibes. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
So it makes sense that, I mean, you started with the used scooters, you started selling bikes, and now you're renting bikes.
Renting, yeah.
Yeah, so do you have any other plans, or like you said, this is your lane and this is where you're going to stay for the time being?
Yeah, I mean, look, the industry and the world's moving so quick now, right? So there's always going to be the newest thing and new features and synergistic add-ons. Like, rental mopeds were really cool because, like, we already have like 10 mechanics on staff who fix, and they're experts, and like, we have all the human resources. We already have 2 trucks and a third truck. We already have the skills and the suppliers and the networks. And then when you bring, one of the big problems is when you want to do like a repair on your moped, on your scooter, like, then you're stranded. You don't have, so we now give all the people who come in for repairs, we give them a free rental moped for the day. So
I
it's
knew
like,
that. My brother-in-law bought his bike from you, so yes, I'm aware.
So that, you know, it kind of just is synergistic. So we'll look for synergistic stuff like that. And, you know, there's electric bicycles. There's, you know, the whole EV era is
because isn't there a move for the country to kind of be in that space, right?
Yeah, although they need to chill on that.
Okay. Okay, Nick. What you mean?
No, just the whole like banning Bermudian consumers from buying a combustion motorcycle in literally 4 years from now, which would mean in 3 years from now, I would have to I would have to tell Honda and Yamaha and Piaggio,
that I can no longer.
Hey, sorry, like, Bermuda is no longer your customer. It's like probably the most outrageous thing I've ever heard.
So you're in those focus groups then, right? You're.
Well, I'm yelling at them because I strongly disagree. It's just like not very well thought out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. We have a lot of unhoused people. We have a lot of gig economy workers. What about Sargasso Sea drivers? What about Pronto app driver? You can't do this stuff on an electric moped. It's not really feasible to enter. There's not really a secondhand market for them. They're 3 or 4 times more expensive. What if you don't have a Belco bill?
Right.
Where are you charging it?
Right.
What if you don't have a credit card?
Right.
A lot of
things need
people,
to be, some like, questions, like, so.
It's too early. You want me to stop ordering in 3 years?
Yeah.
Too early.
Yeah. Maybe a plan or process to roll it out over a period of time once you can answer some of those questions.
Incentivize. Tell us, hey, if you do this, tax rebates, that, it's going to be sexy. But you can't just say you're not allowed to ever buy a combustion motorcycle.
Right.
Like, that is literally just, you're just trying to like control us for it's not harmful to anyone. It's not harmful to the country. It's not dangerous.
I think in the grand scheme of things, when you think about the rest of the world and, you know, climate change and all these things. So it sounds exciting. You're like, yes, that's right. It's for the environment. But I do think from an entrepreneurial perspective, when you're a major employer, of Bermudians. You know what I mean? So there has to be a strategy to kind of phase it out, phase it in, and all that kind of things.
You incentivize things. You make them more appealing. You don't
because you have electric vehicles in your.
We don't. They're not. You're not supposed. The government's not supposed to be a dictator.
Right.
You're not supposed to tell us how to tie our shoes and what to ride to work and what colors to wear.
Yeah.
No, you tell it. We cannot do things if they are safe or bad for our country.
Correct.
This is not any worse for our country than otherwise because the same fossil fuels that are burning on your scooter are burning at Belka.
Yeah.
So there's no difference.
Right.
Maybe it's a tiny bit more efficiency. So then let's talk about efficiency.
Yes,
fuel
and
efficiency.
how fuel efficiency.
Yeah, let's talk about that. But you don't ban it. You don't make it illegal.
Having the product mix, right?
Yeah.
That allows people, like you said, the choice.
Exactly.
Because, like I said, my brother-in-law purchased a bike. He bought an electric bike.
Yeah, I have electric bike. I love them. They're cool.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to force people to get them.
Right.
I'm not going to make it illegal.
Right.
It's not,
Right, I get it. I understand.
Rant over.
It's like I'm off my soapbox.
All right.
But no, I think it's important from the standpoint of the fact that you are an entrepreneur in Bermuda. You are one of, how many employees do you have now?
We have, in the summer times with like summer students and stuff, it can get to over 25.
Right, which is a big deal, right, in the grand scheme of things. So you have to kind of consider those things when you're making laws and making rules because it is going to impact you, which ultimately impacts the summer students and it impacts Bermuda and impacts the economy as a whole. So talking about young people and entrepreneurship, you had your parents as models.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a young person who maybe doesn't have that and has this wild dream because they saw Born Identity and said that they wanted to, who knows, own a scooter shop? What would you say to them to encourage them to pursue their dreams, even if it is entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think that one of the really cool things about the BDC and about things like Ignite and some of the programs, I think we've recognized that one of the big, first of all, to be an entrepreneur 40 years ago was a whole different thing.
It sure was.
You almost had to be of a certain class. You had to have probably big family money. There was a big information gap. The financial knowledge gap was super significant. You could not just Google how to get a loan.
Right.
Right? If you didn't go to a high-end university or something that taught you about financial education, it was almost impossible. We now have all of the information that humans have ever written down available in our pockets. Like if you want to know how to do literally anything, it's just about how resourceful and how much initiative you have.
Yeah.
So you can do it, and that is awesome. So then, who are some people who are going to help you along this way? BDC is a super good resource. Any kind of mentors like the Ignite program is phenomenal. Who can the Bermuda intricacies, there's always these Bermuda intricacies that I had to really struggle with. Luckily, I had my dad to help me out and my mom. But I know some entrepreneurs starting now who've done the Ignite BDC thing, and I'm like, all right, so dude, it's gonna be hard. There's all these things you gotta look out for. They're like, oh, I know about all this.
And you're like, what?
I'm in Ignite. I'm like, what? No, what about this? No, yeah, I got that. So use the resources. Yeah. We've identified that having role models is super important, and not everyone has role models. So use the resources that we have, like these programs. Don't try to make the mistake. Learning from mistakes is not fun.
Yeah. I mean, granted, you learn what not to do, but if you don't have to go that road, why? I would say our tagline is Bermuda Business starts here because it's free. You can come and talk to somebody. You can flesh out your ideas. And then we also are grateful to have people like yourself. You've come and spoke to our incubatees, and they love that conversation, by the way, because it's different hearing it from me. Than hearing it from you. You actually did it. So nobody told you the missteps. You had to just go, through and learn the hard way. So hearing it from you, you've done it, and having, like you said, programs, I think is really, why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
And I have a lot of people who come into the showroom. Where you could basically find me 99% of the time. And they're just like, hey, Nick, can we schedule time to sit down and then I just want to tell you about this and how I could do this. And I'm always going to do that. I think entrepreneurship is, in my view, how we really go forward and be the greatest version of ourselves as Bermudians. I think it's the answer. And the more we can promote it, the easier we can make it.
Yes.
The more we can apply our young people's and everyone's creativity and work ethic. And Bermudians are amazing people.
I would agree.
I'm telling you right now, like,
yes.
we punch so far above our weight, this little island. We're like, this place is cool and it's something to be extremely proud of.
Yeah.
We have to foster our innovation.
Yes.
We have to make it easy for entrepreneurs to do things.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be so difficult. Just because it has been doesn't mean it needs to be.
That's correct.
Right? Like,
the barriers that you can remove should be removed.
Exactly.
So that creativity and innovation can flourish.
Yeah.
I'm on that
guess
team.
what? When you got a hurdle, figure it out.
That's what you do. That's what entrepreneurs do. You got to figure it out. You don't stop.
Yeah.
You're just like, how am I going to get over that, under that, around
There's no
that?
option.
Yeah.
Like, when you have it all on the line, including your reputation and your literal, like, self-identity and every penny you've ever earned in your life, the hurdle is not a hurdle.
Right.
It's a little speed bump.
That's it.
Because you're getting over it. Like, there's not a question.
Right.
So once you start thinking like that, and this is kind of the mindset I wish, like, would be in more of these government committee.
Yeah.
However they make decisions, I think it's not how I make decisions.
Yeah.
Like, if you got a hurdle, you don't need to talk about it for a year and a half.
No.
You just get over it.
Get over it.
Immediately. Get
around it.
Like, because that is how entrepreneurship is fostered.
Yes, it is.
Right? When you have 2-year planning delays because someone doesn't want to move a paper from one desk to another, our young people, it's already hard enough to start a business or anything here. If they're waiting 2 years, what if they quit their job to start this venture?
Yeah.
And they're waiting for 2 years for you. And they weren't told, because my dad would have said, hey, Nick, meet him in the parking lot every single day at 4:59 and yell at them and just know what type of car they drive and sit there in your suit.
You figure out how to
say,
get it
hey,
done.
I'm waiting for your email.
Yeah.
And you just do that or find out where they live and see them on their driveway and say, hey, like, you just make so much noise and you be so much of a nuisance until it gets done.
And I think that's the key. It's that mindset, right? That you're solving a problem, and irrespective of all of the barriers or the things or the reasons, most entrepreneurs don't hear no, right? They're just like, okay, you may be saying that, I just need to figure out another way or find someone else I need to speak to because you're not the right person, because I'm still moving in the direction that I want to move in.
The government says completely no, absolutely impossible, and I hear very, very small inconvenience.
I love that. Look, Nick, it has been great talking to you. I wish you all the best, continued success. Congratulations again on Business of the Year. You deserve it.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see what comes next for you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for minding your business with me.
Take care.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.